Hello, you're listening to Nick Needs to Know, the podcast. Join me as I have open, honest and relatable conversations around careers, mindsets and life in general, and what that looks like for each one of our different guests.
Yo.
Right, morning Gav.
Morning, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
Just want to clear it up, me and you know each other, don't we?
We do.
We both work for the same media company. We're not allowed to say their name.
No.
I've been told already.
Yeah, well...
Please do not mention our name.
Okay, so we're a media company.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, I want to also mention as well, like I feel like I have to, in case I can't sort the edit out, we've been given a nice little room by the Learning Centre, which is attached to the company we work for, but it has the creakiest floors I've known. I mean, I'm a parent, so I know how to navigate creaky floors, mate. But this one, I've sat with my feet up on a separate chair because if I put my shoes on the floor, it's just creak, creak, creak.
I'll try and sit still because I'm a bit of a fidgeter, so I'll...
Anyway, that's me going off on something else. But so you know why you're here today, Gav. You want to talk about your career, where you started out, where you're going, where you are now, sort of thing. So if you want to give me a quick timeline, first job, age, dates, locations.
Okay, so after leaving sixth form, which I pretty much bailed out of because there wasn't much doing, wasn't busy enough for me, my uncle advised me to go into print trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so started off as a assistant. Didn't have an interview, just walked in one day, started a job just for the back of my uncle.
I think that's like back then though, wasn't it? It's who you know, not what you know, wasn't it?
It certainly was.
Yeah, I remember my first job was off from my uncle, woodworking mill. Me and my brother, he just got us straight in.
That was it. Just rocked up one Monday morning. Didn't have an interview. Just didn't even know where the place was. I had to, get a map out then. 1997. This is where I am. And rocked up on a Monday morning and introduced myself to a guy called Ian, who was the print manager at the time. Bearing in mind the business was very new.
Yeah.
It was a brand new company. My uncle was he was a sales rep selling print consumables, and he got into this business and got me in.
Yeah.
So I started off cleaning machines. Pretty much that's what it is. Cleaning machines, cleaning floors, pretty much dog's body, if you like that as a word. Bit of forklift driving, which was the best part of the job, being a 17-year-old lad, loading vans and...
Every young boy's dream.
Yeah, spinning around and on a forklift. But yeah, that was it, just cleaning machines.
How long did that go on for?
So it was around sort of 6 months before I decided, that I want to get some out of this. And there were another guy there as well who worked the opposite shift. We used to work 6 till 2:10. And another machine came in as the company started to build, and we got moved across to this other machine, which was a bigger machine. And the print manager were on a smaller machine, used to work days. So we had 2 operators that got employed on big machine, and we were supporting them, and Ian were on this little machine on his own.
And you saw that as an opportunity?
Well, there were a bit of competition, wasn't there? There were another young lad. I think he was about a year or so older than me, and I could see him getting his feet in. So I sort of built a relationship with Ian, and sort of built a relationship with MD. When you can, we didn't see much of him, and whenever I saw him, I always made a point of saying good morning and trying to get an handshake and maybe a little bit of small talk for 30 seconds. But he wasn't much of a talker, so I said to him one day, will you teach me to print?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, we'll teach you to print. And that was it. I thought, here we go.
Like a dog with a bone.
Like a dog with a bone, because the print industry, it there's always historically been a good industry.
Yeah.
My uncle told me, he says, you're set for life. So he trained me up to be a printer.
Yeah. And I think those sort of jobs are few and far between now, because I think from generation we're from, like, I mean, I'm 40, you're
43.
43. Our parents and grandparents all had the same jobs, and you were told that. I think we were probably one of the last generations to be told this job you're going into is a job for life. But everything went on the turn then, wasn't it? I think the world itself was developing and digitising, and businesses and industries like that, what you've just gone into, I think, unbeknown maybe to them at the time, were a dying art.
Yeah, my grandfather were a printing engineer for Yorkshire Evening Post. So, and then obviously his son, my uncle, he worked on a stitching machine and then went into sales, and then he got me into it. So
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah.
So you become a printer,
I did. 19.
19.
And how this came about was Ian, who was the shop floor manager by this point, were leaving. He were going for different prospects to another company.
And that were his job that you were going for?
Yeah. Well, that was the only spot available at that time, so I had to build up some courage to go speak to the big boss. I was 19. So
Scary.
So I'd been trained for sort of 18 months being a number two. So how the hierarchy works is you were a print assistant, and then you were number two, and then you were number one operator. So I was number two at the time, and they were leaving, and I thought, right, I've got to go speak to the big boss now.
Yeah.
So I built up some courage to go up to his office upstairs, which nobody went up really unless you were asked to. That's how it used to be.
Like the headmaster's office.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So I had a whole speech planned out, what I'd done, and I'm walking upstairs, gingerly, and I get halfway upstairs and he's walking down, and I said, "Hello, Ian." He said, "Hello, I was just coming to get you. I just want to have a chat with you." I thought, "Oh no,
What have I done?"
19-year-old lad,
Yeah.
what have I done? That's what I thought anyway. So he says, "No," he says, "Come upstairs, come into my office." Well, I think I'd been in his office once before, and I'd probably done something wrong. I can't remember. Probably bent a fork trick into something. And he says, he just said to me, "You ready?" I says, "For what?" He says, "Are you ready? Are you ready to be a printer?" He says, "I know you've been training, and you know Ian's leaving." He says, "Do you want the spot?" And I said, "Yeah." I'd know. Even though you know how to print, with somebody over your shoulder, but doing it on your own, it's quite a daunting task, because being a printer is a high pressure job. You get one go at it. You can only print on a sheet once, and you only get a certain amount of paper to do it.
Yeah,
from a financial perspective, And I just said, yeah. So he says, right, what I want you to do is I want you to get your centre an assistant. I'm going to let you interview him. Well, I'm 19 years old. I don't know how to interview anybody.
You've never had an interview for a job you've got yourself.
Exactly. I've never had an interview. So, but I asked him, I says, well, are you going to put how's it going to do? Is it going to be advertised? He says, yeah. He says, I'll advertise. He says, and let's see what comes through the door.
Yeah.
Anyway, somebody came through the door, and this guy rocked up called Darren. Had a pair of Nike Air Max on or something, and some shell suit bottoms and a football shirt, straight out of school. And sat down, had a chat with him, and you know what? He was brilliant.
Yeah,
one of the most really clever, smart, intelligent people. And it just shows you don't judge that book by its cover, Nick.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think, like I say, we are all guilty at some point of doing that, judging a book by its cover. I think that's more of a skill, isn't it, that you develop over time.
Absolutely.
Through experiences like you've just had there. I mean, you probably judged him straight away, thought, who's this kid?
What's this?
With his scruffy Nikes and...
What's this just walked through there?
Naff, cold.
Exactly, it could have been a Naff. You remember Naff Core 54? I don't think it was a real brand.
But then he proved you wrong, didn't he? And then that's where you learn to...
Absolutely,
I don't think it's a bad thing judging a book by its cover, but especially at a young age.
Yeah,
that comes with time.
How we spoke, and I told him, I was honest with him. I says, look, I've got this position now. I've worked hard for it. Do you know, can you work hard for me? Because you will be my assistant.
Yeah.
And that might not sound too right, but that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
You know what? If you work hard, you can get to where I am, but I'm going to need you to graft.
Yeah.
I says, and we can be the best team on this machine. And I said, are you up for it? And how he answered that, it wasn't just a yes. He gave me reasons of what his aspirations were and everything like that. And I just thought, you know what, he was probably more intelligent than me. And I'm, you know, and he was 16-year-old and I'm 19. So you've got two young kids running a printing press, which is, you know, it can be a dangerous environment, you know, if you misuse it, you know. And I said, right, okay. So I spoke to the boss. I said, I found somebody. He says, you've only interviewed one person. He says, have you got any more to come through the door? He says, well, no, I ain't actually. I says, well, this is the guy.
So it's lucky he was smart then.
But this was a time where I was starting to grow up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
That episode there of me having a bit of responsibility. I've got responsibility of running a press, which I've not even started yet, but I've also employed somebody. Well, I've not employed him, I've interviewed somebody.
Yeah.
And that sort of gave me a real good outlook on, you know, what people can do and what I can do.
Yeah. And how did it make you feel at the time? And I guess also looking back now, when your boss at the time give you that responsibility, how did it make you feel at the time? Did you not see it as a responsibility, or did you just see it as a challenge? Or
yeah, probably saw it more as a challenge.
Yeah.
It was just something I was told to do, and you know, back in them days, you were told what to do.
Yeah,
you know, I think more nowadays you're asked to do something. You know, and it's just the way that the world is now. You're more asked.
Yeah.
You know, and you're more supported in that. Where back then you were told to do something, and you did it.
And if you didn't, you were gone.
Yeah, so I saw it as a challenge, but at the same time.
Do you think you maybe saw something in you, looking back now, with what you know now, looking back, that he's probably saw something in you at the time and
maybe
give you that opportunity
yeah.
rather than telling you to do something?
He was quite a closed book, though.
Yeah.
He wasn't the person that you could have a lengthy conversation with him. Do you know, it was all business.
Yeah.
So maybe I was doing it because he didn't want to, or didn't have time to.
Yeah.
I don't really know, to be honest, but it felt funny, you know, me being sort of, let's say, the qualified or elder at 19, you know.
Yeah.
Bringing on a 16-year-old lad straight from school, but he got the job and he was brilliant.
You've gone from looking up to people yourself for now having someone looking up to you, haven't you?
Yeah, I still
in a short period of time, which sounds of it.
I still felt a little bit like a rabbit in headlights, though. I guess, you know, because I did this were completely new to me. But I think that
bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I think that was probably the start of my career.
Yeah.
You know, right at that point where I'm given that responsibility and grabbing on it, and with not a lot of fear, but a lot of uncertainty, but no fear. I had no fear then, and I just thought, well, I've been challenged to do something. Yeah, let's go do it.
I think again that's the age, isn't it? I think we fear more as we get older, don't we?
Certainly do.
Yeah. So you've done that. You've got yourself an assistant, you called it. Yeah. And everything's going smooth.
Yeah, everything's going right. Printing away for years, teaching this kid.
Yeah,
you know, trying to pass on my knowledge to this kid, which is probably one of my favourite things to do. Yeah. I love to teach, I love to coach, I love to help people. So yeah, I showed him the ropes very, 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 very early. Yeah. And we were printing away from years, and then I had a little bit of a blip.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I always remember with a World Cup or a European Cup. And it was around, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember the year, but it was probably that 2004, I'm thinking around that time, I can't quite remember what.
Early noughties.
Yeah. And I said to my boss, I says, England are playing on Saturday. I says, and now we're due to work overtime that weekend. And I says, can I work the Sunday instead? And he said, yeah. He says, no problem. He says, as long as this work's done because it's going out Monday morning, as long as it's done, then work Saturday, work Sunday, do what you want. Yeah. So I goes in on Sunday. Yeah, I'm on the press on my own. There's one more person in the factory, which they had to be obviously for safety reasons, but he were in sort of an office just outside, but glass office, so he could see everything. And the machine had an oil leak, and the alarms were going off, loud. And something just happened, and I just sort of snapped, and I just got this real fear, dread. Don't know what it was at that time. I know what it is now, but at the time I didn't know. So I'm 24-year-old. You know, I've been printing for quite some time. Then something just happened and I just snapped. And went home.
Just left work?
Just Didn't even wash the machine down. Didn't even turn it. I just switched it off, pressed emergency stop button, and left.
And what did that transpire to be?
Well, after I went home, saw Mrs. and she said, "What's up with you? You're out of character." And I think I just had a big panic attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, mental health. You know, very, very prevalent nowadays. Not back then. And I ended up having 6 months off work.
I think you say it were not prevalent back then, but I think it probably was. It's just not approached like it is nowadays, is it? It's more accepted.
I think it's more understood nowadays.
Yeah, more understood and more accepted as a whole nowadays.
Yeah, and when I told my boss, you know, I phoned him up and said, "Look, I can't come in." He says, "Why? What's up with you?" And I said, "I don't know." And then when I went to go see GP, and I think the diagnosis at the time was chemical imbalance in the brain.
Yeah,
that old saying. Yeah, chemical imbalance in the brain, which is causing you to have depression and anxiety. And it was anxiety. I mean, there's a difference between depression and anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, massive difference. I wasn't depressed. I was anxious, and it was creating panic attacks. And it happened for 6 months. Well, 5 months.
Yeah.
And
medication, tablets.
Yeah, therapy, but the therapy wasn't anything. I probably went about 3 times, and I didn't get anything out of it.
So where did you find... Where did you find your coping mechanisms, and how did you get through that? Were it for family, going back to work?
Well, yeah. I'll tell you what I did though. I got hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
I tried hypnotherapy, and I seem to think that, did it work? Don't know. Did it give me a different mindset? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got some news from me and my girlfriend at the time. My girlfriend was pregnant.
Wow.
And yeah, wow. And that's what I said. Yeah, wow. You know, and I thought to me saying, it's not about you anymore.
Yeah, it's give you another outlook, hasn't it?
Yeah, give me a push. And
another
I thought,
focus.
Right, you've got to get back to work. You've got to deal with this problem, because you know something, I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to deal with it, and my way to deal with anxiety would have a beer. Yeah. I'll be honest, it would have a beer just to numb it.
That's how things were though. Back in the day.
Yeah, I had a beer, you know, and I got quite good at that. To be fair, throughout of it, I got good at it, you know. So I had to stop all that, and you know, I just called my gaff. I went back to work, and he said, luckily he said, "Yeah, I can go back to work." You know, this is 5 months later. I went out of work for 5 months, and back then they could have got rid of me at any point.
Yeah, they didn't. Companies didn't really need excuses, did they?
No, they didn't.
Back in the day.
But he let me back to work. But then he said, "Yeah," he says, "Come back to work." He says, "You can be an assistant in bindery." So the bindery part of the print shop is binding books together.
Yeah,
you know, folding paper, cutting paper, stitching paper, wrapping it up. But I was packing boxes for nearly 12 months.
So you saw that as a bit of a punishment for having the time off
at the time. Yeah,
you've lost your position.
Yeah,
you were working as
my position
prior to that, aren't you?
My position was filled. So they got somebody else in to work for it. So I'm packing boxes and I'm looking at my machine and somebody else is running it. Yeah, I did feel punished. Yeah, and I was a victim. I felt like a victim. But looking back now, it probably turned out to be probably the correct decision, because after maybe 12 months of packing boxes, which is pretty much what it was. Now, I'm not taking anything away from that. That's what people did.
Yeah.
You know, it were table hands, they called them.
Yeah.
And I just looked at these machines and I thought, I'm going to learn how to use these.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do an official process. I just spoke to a guy called Mel. Bless his soul, he's no longer with us. But I just said, Mel, I want to learn how to use the machines. He went, well, we ain't got time to physically train you. He says, but if you want to go learn it off your own back and do what you can, as long as the job gets done, go do what you want.
So you taught yourself how to do it?
To a fashion, yeah. We're just asking questions and questions and questions and watching. Do you know where table hands, when machines were getting set up, table hands would be in canteen or go outside and having a smoke or... You know, reading a book or newspaper. I was stood watching these people set up these machines, and I just picked it up a bit by bit. So,
and that then led on to you.
Yeah,
getting.
I learned it all.
Yeah,
I learned how to fold. I learned how to stitch. I learned how to cut the paper on guillotines, folding machines, stitching machines, and I learned the whole lot. And went upstairs. You know, climbed them stairs again to go see Gaffer.
Got to the door. Well, he's not past me this time.
Yeah, how old were I? So baby were due 2005. It were probably back in the 2005. I did that walker walk up them stairs again
Yeah.
and knocked on his door and said, look, this is where I am, this is what I can do. And Mel, I'll say it again, bless him, he's no longer with us. He backed me up on it. He said, I've watched him do it. He says he can do it. So to cut this really, really story short about the print, I got my position back. I become operators on machines, and then by the time 6 months later, unfortunately, this guy, like I said, no longer with us. They were a shop floor position.
Yeah.
So I knocked on the door for that and ended up being a shop floor print manager.
Back on top.
Back higher than what I wore, because the guy that took my job on the press, I were his manager. And I were 27 years old.
Yeah.
So a quick turnaround.
You got through it all then?
Yeah. It would have. I tell you what, it were probably the most difficult time that I probably had, but it was the most educated time I'd ever had. And that section of the part of where I did trip up, and it happens, and it's very relevant nowadays.
Yeah.
But that gave me a lesson.
Yeah.
That gave me education. That now, and like that's put me where I am probably today.
I think it's important that you fail at things, whether that be personal, career-wise, or whatever. It's important we fail at stuff, because for me, you never really learn to stand up unless you fall down a few times, do you?
Well, it's like, think about it when you're a toddler, how you learn to walk.
Exactly.
By falling over.
Yeah,
It's
and bumping your head
all the way through life.
Banging your feet, banging your arms. It's all,
That's right, yeah.
So you've done a decent stint with the sounds of it.
12 years.
12 years at print. When you've finished there, that's led on to your current position now?
Yeah, so what happened is by this time, the reason why I left the print is because it all went digitalised.
Yeah.
And
dying hard, isn't
it? At this time with a recession, around 2006, I think it was, or 2008, can't quite remember. But
it was 7-8, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we were on like temporary contracts. We were doing 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, going back to prior to that, we were earning some very, very good salaries.
Yeah.
You know, very prosperous. You know, really, really good. I ain't got much to show for it, like, but you know, that's life being a young man. But I left, and it was funny how I got this job. Really, so a friend of mine got made redundant, and he was in a very, 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 very good job working in oil.
Yeah,
and we were all sat around watching something, and we said, "Why don't you apply for that?" And he went, "Nah." So I went, "Nah, you've been out of work for 6 months. You know, you're getting a job.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? We're not having this anymore." And even though he was always looking for the right thing, so we're probably having a bit of banter with him, really.
Yeah.
So I got a laptop, and I put all his details in laptop on this application form, and I went to him. "I'm going to send it." He went, "Don't send that." So one of the lads says, "You know, hey Gav, we've heard that you're not getting much work. You know, you'd always eat pub."
Yeah.
You know, because. No, I wasn't always in pub. I didn't. I had a young baby. No, I did go to the pub a bit, but anyway. And I put my name in instead. I put my name and my details instead into this company.
On the form that you were filling
out. On the form I was filling in for a mate,
friend.
yeah. And I sent it.
Yeah.
And
here you are today.
And here I am with the same company. Two jobs in my life.
So that was 2000 and...
That was 2008.
So you've been here for...
14 and a half years. 15 years in November.
So a little bit of background into what me and Gav are doing. We're both coaches at the minute for this company that we work for.
We are, yeah.
I've been here for 3.5 years, and you've just said how long you've been here for. When you first started with this company, what sort of aspirations did you have at the time, if any?
Probably my aspirations when I first started with this company was, after I got the job, were just to learn it.
Yeah.
I don't think my aspirations was, because I'd gone through what I'd learned before, I'd learned that, you know, you've got to start again.
Yeah.
You know, even though I never saw myself as a big player being a print manager, you know, I've never been like that.
Yeah.
I've always respected, you know, what's with me.
Yeah.
I've never gone round cracking a whip, for example. It's just, you know, I've never been like that. I've always been a conversationist, you know, leading on to what we do today, Nick. You know, coaching, you know, good conversation. But my aspirations were, you know, to learn the job, because it's quite a job to learn.
Yeah.
What it certainly was 12 years ago, and it still is today.
A little bit different today, though, isn't it? I think
a little
it's
bit
a little
different.
bit about maybe
Just different. It's different. I'm not going to say it's easier today than it was back then. It's just it were more labour intense back then. I would have said.
Yeah.
So I always felt that I were part of a big thing, and I wanted to be part of that big thing.
So doing what we do now, coaching. Obviously, we're coaching individuals in their current roles. Where do you find the time to take a look at yourself when you're always looking at other people and how to improve them and help them? How does Gav Megson improve himself? Not only as a colleague and an employee, as a person as well.
What have I learned to be able to see about myself?
Yeah. And how do you find time to improve yourself, and what do you do to improve yourself?
So just going back a tiny bit when I was an engineer, which in essence we still are engineers. We are doing this coaching role at the moment though. I always felt that because I was top of my game, I always deserved something else. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get to your question in just a second, but
so it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, I always thought I deserved something else because I was good at what I did.
Yeah.
And when I said at the start, you've always got to move on. You've got to be the best of your game. Yeah. That does not mean to say that going other places, you deserve it, because it could be something completely different. So, me thinking that, and then coming into this coaching role, made me completely change my thought process.
Yeah.
Because when we're going out there and we're listening, and this is the key word now, listening. When we're going out there and we're trying to support our people, for that individual and for the business, you got to listen.
100%.
I think listening is something that I wasn't good at years ago, because I'd gone through what I'd gone through in the print, and I had to fight hard, and it was a dog-eat industry.
I suppose you're used to shouting rather than listening in a weird way, sort of thing. You're used to getting your name shouted out at, rather than having to listen to somebody else. It was a hard industry, and it were very, very male orientated as well. We're with that industry. Boisterous people. I'm the best, and that's how it was. And then me coming across to this industry, we're different. So and me being an engineer, I had started that mindset from the print that I've got to be the best. If I'm the best, then I can move. Yeah. And that's not the case, which I've learned. So going into what we do now, we do a lot of listening. We probably do more listening than talking. Yeah. So, and that listening to other people has probably developed me more by taking all different things what people say and putting that into myself and listening to that person before I can give them something back. So 9 times out of 10 in coaching, people answer their own questions. You're asking open questions. Give me a time when. Yeah, can you give me an example of an open question? And the people that we're trying to support, they generally know the answers to it. Yeah. But when they're doing all the talking, or the majority of it, we're listening. Yeah. And that's what's developed me as a person, by listening. Now, I was a person where I had 2 mouths and 1 ear. That's how I used to be. 2 mouths, 1 ear. Yeah. Now I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And it might be a bit of a funny saying that, but that's how that's how I saw myself a long time ago. Not so long time ago. Yeah. A couple of years back. And I were, like when you're in an environment, I was never listening. I was always waiting to talk. Yeah. Does that make sense? Admitting to that and showing that you have developed takes a lot, because I think that is something that's embedded in people. And it takes a lot of getting rid of that. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people that, like you said, 2 mouths and 1 ear, are waiting to talk rather than listening or actively listening. And it is an habit. I think it is an habit, and it does take a lot of courage, to admit that you had that.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. No. Because, you know what, in this world, we all have aspirations to move and to do better and to climb that ladder, shall we call it. Yeah. And sometimes, well, when I was talking a lot, I was trying to impress people. I wasn't doing it by via arrogance. I was talking a lot because I thought that impressed people.
Yeah.
To know this guy stands out, or this girl stands out, or whoever's talking. And that's not necessarily the case. You stand out by interaction with other people. You stand out. Well, I think so. I think you stand out by listening and responding and delegating a conversation. Instead of you telling everybody what the answer is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is embedded, like I said, because that's how we were brought up.
Yeah.
To, if you want something, stand out, and, you don't, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but I do think it is a generational thing. I think I see young people nowadays, and again, whether this is a bit of like imposter syndrome, but I see younger people doing what we're doing or better than what I'm doing, and they just seem to be dealing with things a lot better.
Yeah.
I think they deal with it because they've been, I don't know, been born into this world. We were a lot different when we were younger, Gav. It were a lot different, and the workplace was a lot different. It was a harder place to be, and you had to have two mouths and one ear to get anything you wanted, didn't you?
It's like you had to get your hands mucky back, get your hands more mucky, and you'd really have to, the favour of a bust of gut to really stand out. And, back then, whoever shouted the loudest and whoever were the best got something called a promotion, where nowadays it's equal opportunity.
Exactly, yeah.
So you can be the best at whatever you want to be or whatever you are at. But that doesn't mean to say that you've got all the skill sets for what you want to go into. But then again, it's an open playing field for everybody to
and I think that's a better way to.
Oh yeah, because
it's just trying to adapt to that mentally, I suppose, isn't it? As an individual in a corporation or a business, it's just trying to get your head around that as an individual. But it is a lot better. I think it is a better way to look at things.
It is, and you know what? I've probably learnt more in the past 2 years being a coach than I have in the last.
Exactly, yeah.
How many years I've been working? 20, 25 years, whatever I've been working. I've probably learnt more in the last 2 years by having this opportunity to be able to go out and support people. But you know what? It's listening is the key. Sometimes we listen, but we're not really listening.
Yeah.
Like I said the phrase before, we're listening to wait to talk.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Nice.
Some of the best reflection you can have is when you're sat with somebody and you're having a conversation and they've spoken to you or you've spoken to them for a very short period of time. Then there's a minute of silence.
Time to think.
Silence don't have to be uncomfortable.
No.
Silence is a reflection that instead of just blurting it out, listen to what that person's got to say. And in turn, they'll listen to you. And that little bit of silence is you digesting what they've said to make sure that what you deflect back or what you say back is the right thing and the appropriate thing or the best thing for you to say back.
Yeah.
And that's about me developing as myself, because I'm going to take that. And if I can do that, then I can give that to someone else. So that person can develop.
What is it, Gav, that when you get up in the morning, this might sound a bit cliche, but what motivates Gavin Megson? Not just to get up to go to work, because I want to get into what you're doing on an average day as Gavin Megson. What does Gavin Megson do? What motivates you in the morning? What gets you up? What gives you the drive to keep doing what you're doing on a daily basis?
There's maybe one or two things. So a lot of it's probably personal and selfish for myself. I want to, at the time I am in my life and the experiences that I've gained so far, I don't feel like I've really started yet.
Yeah.
I still think I've got a lot more to give. And my journey, what I can see in front of me, it looks if the opportunity arises and I develop and put in my hard work, is looking very different.
Yeah.
To what I'm used to, and I'm challenging myself right this very moment and throughout this journey that I've been on for the past sort of 2 years is I want to succeed. I want to hit that. I want to do what I want to do, and I've got to work hard at it. And the drive to get to that now, with me at the age that I am and the experience that I've gained, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And so that's personal. So that's me thinking of myself. I don't call it selfish, no, but it's me thinking about me. And secondly, you know, especially the role that we're doing at the moment, there's nothing better right now for me is that when I'm supporting people and trying to get the best out of people, and sometimes you turn up and these people don't want it. Mm. Turning these people, turning them around, having good conversations, and when you've sort of having this relationship with this person for however long it may be, connecting with them and getting the best out of them, and like I said earlier on, asking these open questions and letting people self-develop, because people self-develop. When people know how to do something, they know how to do it. It's just that we can become complacent, or we can be sidetracked, or etc., and getting them to self-correct themselves through our support is what I really enjoy to see. But probably the most important part of that is when you get that thanks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know when
it is for me? I enjoy that.
When someone says thanks, you know, I really enjoyed this. Thank you. And you know,
seeing results as well.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, results are important. Of course they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the reason why we do this. But it's not. It's not all about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's about how you've made someone feel and how you might have created confidence, or you might have created that drive, that will, that desire.
Yeah.
You know, to because everybody wants.
And I guess they're results in a way, anyway, aren't they? Like a personal result.
Yeah.
For changing an individual who might not be as great at a certain thing, and giving them that confidence, but letting them do it themselves. That's, for me, that is a result as well, not just a number and a figure.
Yeah.
It's about the person.
Right. It's about
for me. It's about the person.
I think if you develop people in a way that it makes them happy.
Yeah.
Do you know, a happy person or a driven person with a smile, and with that belief and confidence will create them results naturally. If they're feeling a little bit down and they're having issues and whatever that may be, I'm not saying that we can correct that, but we can talk and support. And it's not just all about numbers. It's about well-being. Just having these conversations and seeing these people. For me, and it's probably if you're with them for a number of days, probably the first day is, if you don't know this person, you're just getting to know them.
Yeah.
You know, and building that rapport, building that good vibe between you, and even when they've said right at the start, why are you here? You know, because they always people feel like they've done something wrong. I mean, that's not the case. Well, I'm here because a little bit might like you. We might get to know each other. We might, be able to do something together here and get on. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you some company. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And then end at first day, I'll say, have you enjoyed today? And we've not spoke about one number. Yeah. Have you enjoyed today?
And 9 times out of 10, I'm guessing they will be saying, yeah.
Yeah, shake your hand. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
He or she says, I really enjoyed today. Thank you. Are you coming back tomorrow? Yeah. There you go. They want you to come back tomorrow.
And that's a result.
Right at the start.
That's a result.
They want to know why you were here.
Yeah.
So it's that. So sorry, that's a bit of a long-winded answer.
It's an answer, Gav.
It's a long-winded answer. And I'm sorry I'm babbling on a bit. But yeah, self-driven motivation and giving something back.
So Monday to Friday, you're at work, your employee, Gavin Megson.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday comes round. Let's get a bit of an insight into what Gav looks like on a Saturday night, on a Sunday morning. Is it going to be PG or is it going to be 18?
Absolute nutcase.
So what do you do on a weekend? What fills your time up on a weekend, Gav?
Been an absolute nutcase.
A nutcase.
No, so I've got I've been a football coach for about 10 years.
And is that infants or is it?
It started as infants. Yeah, I started coaching children's football, boys and girls.
Yeah.
From the age of 6 years old.
Yeah.
And now the current team, which I've still got 6 or 7 of the same players in the same team, I now coach under 17s. So they've gone. I mean, they are all men now because from the age of 16, girls have to separate and do their own game.
Yeah.
Which I were really sad about because I had 2 really good girl players.
Yeah.
You know, especially one, and she, great now. She plays open age ladies at 17 years old, so it's really good. But yeah, I do that, and I also I'm very passionate about music.
Yes. I know this, but people listening might not. You're in a band.
I am.
And you play the drums.
I do play the drums.
Bit of a rock star, Gav.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a rock star.
Yeah.
You know, no, I was supposed to go to music college before I went into print trade, but we had a bit of a hiccup there, and I didn't go. Like I say, I was not pushed into print trade, but very encouraged. So,
yeah.
If I could have turned back time now, would I have changed it? Maybe on a subject of music because I'm so passionate about it, but no.
But you get to fulfil that. I
do it now. Yeah,
you do gigs and stuff. On a Saturday and Sunday, don't you?
I do. Yeah, we gig 2 or 3 times a month. I'm in a band called the Peacocks.
Leeds based.
Yeah.
Anyone having a wedding or a birthday?
Well, this is it, isn't it?
They're on your socials, aren't you?
Yeah,
the
we're on
Peacocks
socials.
On Facebook.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so we're a pretty. I'm not going to blow us on trumpet, but we're decent. Yeah, we're decent.
I've seen the videos, Gav. You are a good band.
Yeah, we do all right.
You seem to pull the crowds, mate.
Good set of lads in this band, good musicians. So yeah, that's one of my passions. And I've got 2 boys.
Yeah.
So they both play football as well. One plays for me, and my smallest son plays as well. My wife keeps me busy.
Don't they always?
Yeah. She likes a bottle of wine, so. Bless her, she works hard as well. So
Gav, you know this is going to be on Spotify and other available podcast platforms, but she'll be able to listen to this, mate. So be careful.
Yeah, she's yeah. But yeah, just look like socialising, you know. Yeah. I let my hair down on a weekend.
Yeah,
you know, I'm still with lads on a Sunday, with lads they are now on a Sunday. You know, that's still quite disciplined with all that because that's you know, it's teamwork and you know, and they're really good. We just got through to a final on Sunday, so they've done really, really well. But yeah, that's it for me. You know,
that's Gav Megson the person, not the employee.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to some quick fire questions, Gav. Mm-hmm. But just before we start, have you got anything that about you that people who are listening might not know? Crazy facts.
I don't know, I think I'm a little bit boring in that fact. Crazy facts about me. Well, I've done quite a lot of stuff where in my younger life, you know, done a bit of bungee jumping, you know, a bit of extreme. I used to race motorcycles, all around country. Bit of a Evel Knievel madman. Did that in my youth, which I really enjoyed. Other stuff, really. Fanatic football fan.
Yeah, I mean, I know that because I know you, but
yeah,
I think all Leeds United fans are fanatics, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy bunch of people.
Not going well at the moment though, but we got a draw last night, so we'll see where that goes. I like my rugby league as well. I like a lot of sports.
Yeah.
I like my rugby league. You know, Leeds Rhinos. I've watched them, but I just like rugby league as a whole sport. To be fair, now.
Yeah.
I'm a typical lad as well. You know, I like spending time with my pals. You know, being young. You know, going out for a few beers.
Keeping a young mind.
I think that's important. That you take your son away from everything and just go talk a load with your mates. You know, have some banter and you know just put the world to rights. And you know what? I mean, we don't get together as much as we should do, but maybe once a month. You know, go have a blowout. You know,
it's something you look forward to.
Yeah, we're all good lads. You know, we all behave ourselves as you should do. So why not? You know.
Yeah. Quick fire questions.
Oh, no. Go on, then.
Quick fire questions. So, ready for this, Gav? There's only 5, and I want quick answers.
Oh, I can't think quickly, though, Nick.
Well, you're going to have to.
You know
Here
what
we
I'm
go.
like? I ramble on like a...
So, question 1.
Oh.
If someone were to play you in a movie, who would you want it to be?
If somebody wanted to play me in a movie...
If someone were to play you in a movie, who would you want it to be?
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. I mean, looking at you, why him?
It's cool, this Sylvester.
Yeah, he's cool, mate. Yeah.
It's cool.
The next one might need you to move about a little bit. What's the last text message you sent? And have you got the balls to read it out, Gav?
The last text message I sent... text message I sent was to rearrange my dental appointment for tomorrow because I've got an engagement on tomorrow, so I had to text him to say I can't go to the dentist.
Well, fair enough. Could have been worse. Number 3. Do you have any reoccurring dreams or nightmares?
Am I allowed to tell you my dreams?
Tell me your dreams if you want, yeah.
Reoccurring dreams. I don't dream a lot. Reoccurring dreams are, what do you say?
Nightmares.
Sorry? Nightmares. I don't really dream.
I used to have a weird one when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was about Emmerdale. It was a nightmare. I don't know why I connect Emmerdale Farm at the time, but I used to dream it was like, I don't know, characters coming towards me from Emmerdale.
Yeah.
Probably means something. I don't know.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to fly down my granddad's stairs.
What dream? You dreamt it?
Obviously. I used to dream. I used to fly, and I think there's something about this.
There's a meaning to it. There'll be a meaning to it.
There's a psychological
Yeah, there will be, mate.
value to this, that I think I was getting chased by something from my uncle's bedroom, because obviously I lived with my granddad.
Yeah.
And he used to get to the end of the stairs, and he used to fly down the stairs. And I remember that vividly. Wow. But I never landed. I never landed at the bottom of the stairs.
No.
I used to wake up.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something to look into, that, because I think there is something behind that.
Well, you'll have to have a look. I'm sure there'll be something on Google about it.
Yeah.
Question 4. What's the first career you dreamed of having as a kid?
Rock star.
I
wanted to be.
Why did I even ask that question?
Yeah. I always
know the answer.
I wanted to be a drummer in a professional band. But saying that, the first ever instrument I did play was the keyboard and the piano. But playing the piano, I can still play it now.
Yeah.
I still do play it now. But when I became a drummer at the age of 11 years old, I wanted to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Oasis was not quite there yet, but when Oasis came out in about 2002-ish, 4-ish,
yeah,
somewhere around that
90s,
time.
Early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah. However time
When
that
they got
was.
famous.
But yeah, I listened to loads of music, and I wanted to be a drummer. I used to listen to a lot of Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden, used to watch him drum, and I thought, God, he's this.
Get all your bums, pots and pans out. And
I did do that.
your dad's tie around your head. And
I did do that.
Yeah.
The first ever thing I did was got mum's pots and pans out, and whacked them.
Hello, Wembley!
Hey.
In living room.
This is it.
Question 5. What advice would you give your young self?
Listen.
Brilliant. That's a one-word answer.
Listen.
Yeah.
Nothing
Brilliant.
more than that.
Right, Gav. That's it, mate. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Been good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me.
That's a pleasure, mate. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit that follow button and join me next time for more chats on Nick Needs to Know.